So this next chapter actually comes from a special request from Nina. She really wanted me to read this one because of the grammar. Oh, it's called Chapter 32, Nothing But Pain. And actually, the first part is a little graphic, I guess you could say, so I'm not going to read it because, even though it's poorly written, it makes me kind of feel a little queasy, but I will read one sentence. It's only then when I get some of vision back after what felt like an eternity. It's only then when I get some of vision back after what felt like an eternity. Oh boy. So, obviously, after, Jimmy saw Nicolas Cage and Jade kissing, he's upset and he runs away, so Jade runs after him and she got hit by a car. So she's in the hospital now. Great way to spend prom night. What happened? I breathe out. You were hit by a car, the lady says as if it were nothing. I look round the room, which I can now see is in a hospital, and see tubes attached to me in a machine that beeps every time my heart thuds, which now feels like 10 times a second. You're lucky your friend was there to help you. If you didn't know first aid, you would have died of blood loss before the ambulance got to you, she says, now with a slight smile on her face. She walks round the other side of me and pulls something out of the cupboard. My friend? I ask, confused. Is she talking about Jimmy? I thought he would never forgive me. Yeah, I forgot his name, but the man with dark hair and brown eyes, she says, wrapping something round my arm until it tightens. She looks at the results and writes it down on a clipboard. I smile at the thought of Jimmy coming to rescue me, holding me in his arms, kissing me again. In fact, he's waiting outside. He's been waiting here for 2 days. He refused to leave until he knew you were okay, the lady said. Can I see him? I ask. She smiles at me. I think you're well enough for just one visitor. Let me just finish up here and I'll go get him for you, she says, setting down her clipboard. She puts away the equipment she used on me and walks out of the room. A few minutes later, there is a knock at the door. It opens slowly, and he walks in. But the smile slowly leaves my face when the man wasn't who I thought it was going to be. How are you doing, Jade? Nicholas says, with a concerned smile on his face. He slowly walks toward me, putting a hand on my thigh. I don't say a single word, but stare at him as he walks closer toward me. He pulls up a chair and sits down facing me. God, I'm so relieved you're okay, he says, running a hand through my hair. Tears springs from eyes as I imagine Jimmy walking away from me when I needed him most, and instead being left with the last man on earth I would want to be with. Why do you care? I say, hearing the hurt in my own voice. He pulls his hand away from my hair and sighs. He stands up from his chair, and the serious expression I am so used to seeing appears on his face. He looks down at my injured shoulder and frowns. You know why I care about you, he says, tracing a finger along my collarbone, just inches away from the injury. I think back to when he kissed me. I hoped that at least the accident would erase that memory from my mind, but it didn't. Don't touch me, I said, struggling to move my arm. I managed to push myself up into a sitting position, trying not to react to the pain. I need to get out of here, I mumble. I swing my legs over the edge of the bed. Jade, I don't think that's a good idea, Nick says gruffly, holding my arms, trying to get me to lay back down. Get off of me, I say. He releases his hands from me slowly, but still stays close to me. My feet hover above the ground. I take my first step, but my leg buckles in pain as I put the slightest pressure on it. I gasp as the pain runs through my leg. I pull myself up from the bed, putting all my weight onto my fingertips as I edge toward the end of the bed. The wires and tubes connected me keep me from going further. Jade, you tried walking and you did a good job, but you need to stop now and rest. I ignore him and start ripping out the needles and tubes from my body, making the machines start to beep loudly. I walk one more step but stumble and fall to the ground. Doctors and nurses instantly run in and grab me, pulling me away from the doorway. No, no, I need to see him. I need to Jimmy. I cry out as I get hauled back onto the bed. Nick watches me as they hold me down. One of the doctors gets out a syringe and presses it against my skin. He can't leave me like this. He needs to know that I love him. Tears fall from my eyes uncontrollably as everything turns into a blur, and I slowly fall asleep.